Good morning, everyone. As I walked into church and along Linda's garden, and all the crocuses and the daffodils, anybody ready for spring? 4 more days. And then I was thinking, as I was preparing this talk, that I really wanted to stand on the principles of spring with hope and renewal and beauty. And yet I also don't want to be an ostrich that puts my head in the sand, because I understand that we live in extraordinarily difficult, very, very difficult times, at least for me. But to me, what gets me through, the reason I can get out of bed in the morning and put a smile on my face and try to meaningfully engage in my life, is because in Unity and through my mystical studies, I feel blessed to have learned some very, very strong, universal spiritual truths. So I'm going to stand on those truths today to try to lead us into hope and renewal and beauty, regardless of what's happening in the outside world. And I just wanted you to know I stand here as your fellow seeking student. I am not claiming to have something that you don't have. I think we all have it. And I would just like to share some of the things today that have made a real difference in my life, and hopefully they will empower all of us to live the message of every single song we've just heard. So I'm going to start with a quote from a little book that Bill Holmes gave me a couple months ago. This book is called Holy Moments. And it says this: if I had to summarize the Christian, the spiritual life, in 10 words, here they are. You were made in the image of God. Act accordingly. So many of us have spent our entire lives as spiritual students. Here we sit in Columbine as spiritual students. We were made in the image of God. Act accordingly. Not act accordingly. It's like, be the love. Be those beautiful crocuses and daffodils. Be the expression of that love. That's why we're on the earth. And I chose that quote to start with because I think, in my experience, both personally and professionally, if we have images of the divine that are too small, then we tend to act very small. If we have images of the divine that are more exalted, it's no guarantee we're going to act holy. Just ask my husband. He can witness to that. But at least we have a chance. We have a chance. We have a tool. We have a technique that can draw us deeper into our divinity. And I just want to make a disclaimer. Hopefully we all know this. When that man or any spiritual teacher is saying we're made in the image of God, we're not talking about bodies. Has nothing to do with gender or bodies or age or minds or personalities or egos. The image of God they're talking about is our spiritual essence, the invisible core, but absolute rock-solid foundation of who we are. So that's the image that we're talking about. So how are our images of God? Are they big? Are they small? Are they a little bit of both? I'm going to share several quotes today to try to get us to blow the roof off any boxes that we might put ourselves or God in. So what is my image of God, and what's the ideal that I'm trying to live for? Let's start with this first quote. Before we put that up, Bonnie, I'm going to start with one of what I think is the biggest misconceptions about God. Things that I hear from my clients and even in myself at times. An idea that we have about God that, in my opinion, is totally false. And that idea is that God condemns us. Have you ever heard that? If you would just raise your hand, whether you believe it or not, have you ever heard it? Look at this. I mean, that's nearly unanimous that we've heard somewhere along the line that God condemns us. Okay, now I'd like this quote. Sometimes we think what we're saying about God is true, when in fact it's not. Oh, and time out. This is from St. Thomas, who is probably the most famous Catholic theologian ever, and he's telling us this from 800 years ago, but it's very true. It would seem of value to differentiate between what is really God's nature and what is false about love. Look at that. I don't know how you read that. I read that this guy in the Catholic hierarchy 800 years ago knew that God's nature was love. Yes, we talk about that in Unity. Great. What's Unity? 100 years old? This goes way back, and way back before that. God is love. And look what this man, again, the most famous Catholic theologian ever, and look what he says. What he's come to learn is that God's compassion and light can never be limited, ever. Thus, put your seatbelts on or take them off. Any God who could condemn us is not a God at all. Any God who could condemn us is not a God at all. So, I'll take a collective breath. Wow, is that my image of God? Or do I still have a belief, big or small, within me that God condemns me? And hey, because God condemns me, I can condemn you. That's not the unity truth, and it's not the universal truth. And I just thought it was so powerful to me to read these. I love to study the mystics, and they're modern mystics, the old-time mystics. The message is always the same. So here's an idea that we can blow the roof off of. God does not condemn us. And again, I want to have an exalted idea. So what are we going to do with that? I'm going to give you another example here. Can we have the second quote? How should one live? Live welcoming to all. One sentence. And again, this is another famous Catholic saint from the 1200s. I have another one from the 1200s coming up. It was a very good century for mystics. But let's see how we tie this together. I just told you God does not condemn. And I think God does not condemn. It's like, here's a wonderful idea. Would you like to experiment with it? And what's one way, just one way you and I could practice not condemning? We could live welcoming to all people. We could live welcoming to ourselves. Many of us can't even do that. Yet. We can all do that, but we haven't practiced that yet. Live welcoming to all. Can you imagine how fabulous our worlds would be? Our internal worlds, our external worlds, if you and I could just practice being welcoming to all people. If you never tried it, it's not as easy as it sounds, but it is a very, very effective practice. And once again, because our concepts of ourselves are so intertwined with our concepts of the divine, I think it's really important to try to expand both of those concepts so we can be the love that Ryan and his crew just sang about. So now I'm going to share a quote, a little quote by Rumi and then a quote about Rumi. So if we could have these, please, Bonnie. You've heard of Rumi, a famous Sufi mystic. Throw off your tiredness. Nobody went running. You are a mirror of divine beauty. So I'm going to go on and then I'm going to come back to this. And then Andrew Harvey, who's a living mystic, he says this about Rumi. Rumi is a lion of passion trying to teach a humanity of people like me, depressed sheep, how to roar with freedom, with majesty, with divine tenderness, to roar with the full, naked power of divine love. That's what Rumi's trying to do. He knows we're divine. Andrew Harvey knows that we're divine. But Rumi is speaking to us because we think we're depressed sheep and the world is going to hell and there's nothing I can do. And oh my goodness, my kids and my grandkids and my dogs, and there's nothing to hope for. And that's probably the lightest thing we can do. Many of us get into rage and hopelessness and we're depressed sheep and we can't do anything. Baloney. Every spiritual teacher of every persuasion, at least that I've ever studied, says the exact same thing. So Bonnie, can we have this up again? Throw off the Rumi one. Throw off your tiredness. Where am I? Yeah, number 4. Throw off your tiredness. He doesn't say when you feel like it. Throw off your tiredness. You're a mirror of divine beauty. Act accordingly. You're a mirror of divine hope. Act accordingly. We have a divine nature. Yes, it's invisible, but we can bring it into manifestation. And then we have a choice here. Are we going to act like depressed sheep? angry sheep, resentful sheep, or are we going to wake up and let that divine essence come out? And look, when we let that divinity come out, we get to live with freedom. Wouldn't that be cool? Majesty, divine tenderness, and to roar with the full naked power of divine love. Each one of you, a lot of you, I don't know your names. Some of you I do. It doesn't matter. Each one of you, it's me, this is Spirit talking to you. We get to wake up. We don't have to be the sleeping sheep or depressed sheep. If you are depressed, I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying spiritually, we have tools that we can find our way through and beyond those with compassion for ourselves and other people. So Rumi and all the mystics, in my experience, make this very, very clear. They're asking us, do we want to live? Are we willing to live? Do we even know it's possible to live in alignment with our divine nature? Are we willing? If we're willing, will we move beyond that depression, beyond that rage, beyond that powerlessness to be the light in our world? This is a choice that is ours to make, not at Columbine. As lovely as this congregation is, they can't make the choice for us. Each one of us individually gets to make that choice, has to make that choice. And I understand fully it can sound impossible and daunting. Absolutely. I've been there more times than I could count. But I also have used these tools more times than I can count to find my way out, to get out of bed and put a smile on my face. So this morning, if you think it's daunting, I respect that, but I would ask you, please, with your patience, give me 10 minutes to give you two practices, two simple practices that I know from my own experience can work to help us not live as depressed sheep, and they can help us live in alignment with our divine nature. You ready for that? Just two. It's easy. Okay, the first one is to love wholeheartedly. Love wholeheartedly. And my ego would go, oh, I already do that. Check. Next one, lady, hurry up. I don't do that. I mean, I'd like to think I did. But I found a really good description of what it means to love wholeheartedly, and I can tell you I fail miserably. And this description is from Sue Monk Kidd in her book, First Light. Could we have that one? What if I practiced receiving each person with the whole of my heart? Be fully present without passing judgment, wanting agreement, desiring appreciation, or generally getting caught up in my own feelings, desires, and opinions. Do it the way Mary sat at the feet of Jesus, with an undivided heart. Okay, let me go back to you and say this. And what I said to is this really how I act? When I'm listening to you, and I don't care if you're a stranger or my husband of 40 years, is this how I'm acting? Look at this. Can I really be fully present without judging you? Ooh. Without wanting or needing you to agree with me, even if you're in the opposite political party? Whatever way that is, can I talk to you? Can I listen to you without needing you to be grateful and appreciate how wonderful I am? Woo! Even if I can do those first three, can I listen to you without my own personal ego agenda getting in the way, cutting you off because I want the focus on me? Well, you've told me your story, let me tell you mine. And I can outdo you in my victimhood or in my successes or whatever. Me. That's not loving wholeheartedly. Just if you took any one of those, could you talk to someone, listen to them without passing judgment? Try any one of them. They're all ways that we can love wholeheartedly. Okay? If you get me as a guest speaker, you get homework. That's just... I've been a teacher full-time since 1976, so it's just kind of in the blood here. So whatever our barriers are, when I say I fail that miserably, it's only because I still have false beliefs. I forget who I am, and I get stuck at, oh yeah, I'm only human. No, I'm not. Oh yes, I am. Oh no, I'm not. Okay, and I can have that war within myself. So first one, love wholeheartedly. Second one, look how sweet it is. Love more tenderly. I'm giving you two homeworks. Love more wholeheartedly, if you want, and love, I'll do it tenderly. Love more tenderly. And Bonnie, can we have this one? This is from St. Francis of Assisi. If all the tenderness in this world could reflect from my eyes, would you accept that love? If all the forgiveness the heavens have ever known could be offered from one face, would you accept that divine pardon? In its sublime sanity, every moment God offers that to us. Anything that might comfort. So let's go back. This shows us we not only have to be the love, we have to accept the love. Those are two very important parts. But I want to focus especially on that last part, since I know this is such a huge misconception. We talk about God as love, but we don't feel loved. We don't let God love us. We have so many blocks. But look at this. In its sublime sanity, every moment, Spirit is offering that to you. Anything that might comfort. Is that your experience of Spirit? Is that your expectation of Spirit? Maybe you've never heard that before. Staggeringly, most spiritual people don't believe this. Many spiritual people have never even heard it. And many of the ones that I work with have heard it for 40 years, many of them from me, and they still don't believe it. It's like they don't feel worthy. So I'm putting these quotes here at least to hopefully plant a seed and have you do your own homework. Experiment with this. Don't take my word for it or any of these people that we have the quotes from. Make your own life your laboratory and find out how life is different when you let love in. How life is different when you let your love go out. Isn't that beautiful? Every single moment. That's the truth of what God is offering us. But are we accepting it? That's a whole nother thing. Okay. And I just want to throw this out as a caveat. Everything I'm talking about today has nothing to do with intellectual work. I could memorize all these quotes. That won't do me a darn bit of good. Might make me arrogant and think that I don't have any work to do. Those quotes, anything I say, is only helpful in as much as it's going to help me change or you change the way we think, the way we speak, the way we live. So please, let's try to get out of our heads, really let this sink into our real heart essence so that we can make some great choices to be that kind of comforting love. Okay, we're told we want to be in divine tenderness. We're told that's how God treats us. Now I have a really beautiful little one-liner from a Hindu saint, Saint Mira. She's from the 1500s. We're moving up in time. And I told Bill I was laughing because I wish I had a joke for this service, and I don't. I don't have any jokes. I don't have any funny things to show. And I said, but I have a great setup for a joke. 3 saints went into a bar, a Catholic saint, a Muslim saint, a Hindu saint, because I've just quoted them all, but I don't have a punchline. So if you come up with a punchline, I asked the first service and nobody told me. But anyways, isn't that fun? They're all together at the bar and they're all telling us to be the love. Okay, so here is what Mira says. It's so beautiful and so simple. An oasis for each other, our eyes should be. An oasis for each other, our eyes should be. How many of you, can I see a show of hands, how many of you have a pet at home? Okay, virtually unanimous. Is this hard to do for your pets? No. I give you all A+ on how you feel love and give love to your pets. Okay, now your husband or your wife. Are you an oasis of each other? Are your eyes an oasis for your husband or your wife, your partner? Your parents, your kids, your siblings, your boss, the Democrat or Republican who lives next door. Whatever, are your eyes an oasis for another person? Are your eyes an oasis for yourself? When you look in the mirror, seriously, it's just you in the mirror. Are your eyes an oasis for yourself? Spiritually, that's our homework. That's how we get to be the love. And it's not about be the love for everybody else and treat myself like dirt. No, an oasis for love, all of us, myself included. Anytime that we have this intertwining of our concepts of God with our concepts of a self, wow, we can really turn on the joy and really turn on the beauty in the world. I don't know about you, but I think our world really needs that. So before I bring this talk to a close, I want to share one more quote from the Holy Moments book that I started with. Made in the image of God, that's what we're supposed to be acting according to, you have an astounding capacity for goodness. Do you believe that? That's what he's saying is the truth. Be bold with your goodness. Decide today that every day for the rest of your life, you will have a positive impact, a divine impact. Decide that your part, which no one else can do, will not be left undone. Decide to light a candle rather than curse the darkness. And I'm going to stop right there. Anybody in here understand how tempting it is to curse the darkness? And to get really angry and tell everybody how angry you are and live in anger and bitterness and resentment? If I'm cursing the darkness, I am adding to the darkness. I'm going to say that one more time. If I curse the darkness in me, in you, in our world, I am adding to the darkness. I and you were created in the divine image. I'm supposed to be the light. I get to be the light, but I don't do it by cursing the darkness. I decide to light a candle. I decide to be the light. Even if I'm depressed, I can still be the light. I can still smile. I can still forgive. I can still hope. And if I can't, I can call someone and get some help. Yeah, that's right. We don't have to do this alone. We can't do it alone. Decide to collaborate with God. That's a million other talks. Because everything I'm saying, everything they're singing, we can't do it just in our humanness. Just like that song they sing, our humanness, we didn't get this from the world. And the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Decide to collaborate with God. You were made in the image of God. Act accordingly. That's your privilege. That's your homework, not from me, from your spiritual essence, longing for us to no longer walk around with our heads hung low, feeling powerless and angry as depressed sheep. We are called to be the love. We're called to live in alignment with our divine nature. Do you think the world needs us right now? Yes. I tell you, I'm almost 70 years old. I can never, and I taught political science at Front Range for 25 years. From my political science hat, I cannot tell you anything more scary or horrible or unimaginable than, from my political science view, than what we're living through. That doesn't change any of this. I am not just a political science teacher. I am a child, a beloved, an expression of God, as are you. I can't curse, I can curse the darkness, but I can decide, it's a choice, decide to light the candle, be the light that we are. Okay, so let me just bring this to a close. You have homework, if you're willing, hopefully to challenge your ideas that God condemns you, hopefully to live welcoming to all, hopefully to love more wholeheartedly, hopefully to love more tenderly, hopefully to accept the love that Spirit is offering you 24/7 from within, and hopefully be that same love to everyone you meet, or like the Course in Miracles would say, to everyone you even think of. That's how we act accordingly.